Hi there, how are you? I hope you're really well. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a book review as well as creating some collage pieces to go along with each of the three books that I'm going to be talking about. So to begin with, I'll be talking about Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. So this is a story of Belladonna Blackthorn. She is a witch about to become 30 years old and she has been neglecting her magical powers. And because of this, she has been summoned to a trial where she has to undertake a series of tests to prove whether she ought to be allowed to keep her magical powers or give them up for good. So first of all, the name Belladonna Blackthorn I love. If you've ever played Sims 2, I'm really getting Sims 2 vibes from that name. Before writing this book, Lucy Jane Wood has been a content creator on YouTube for many years, and I have followed her for many of those years and really enjoy her YouTube videos and sort of, you know, if you've been following somebody for a long time, you feel like you've really gotten to know them. Yeah, so it was kind of weird to read a book by someone you sort of feel like you know, and that became quite difficult then to disassociate the person from the story. Because I have followed her for a long time, I know what she's into. Like myself, she loves 90s vibes, early 2000s. She loves witches, magical stuff, Harry Potter, New England, cozy vibes, being creative and all of that. So because I really do enjoy her videos, I like her as a person, I would have read anything that she'd written, to be honest with you, but it was obvious she was going to write a book playing to those strengths of being cozy and witchy and all magical. So yeah, I know that for a fact as well that she likes Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and that's why I've sort of gone for the theme that I've gone for in this little collage. It's kind of playing off the cover design of the book with that window being the central point, but also I've tried to make it a bit as if you were in like Sabrina the Teenage Witch's bedroom, for example. It is a little bit strange for me to say, because I'm a bit of a Sabrina nerd, I did feel like some of the themes and characters and happenings were very similar to some of the things that have happened in that show, so that was kind of a bit weird. I did like the story, but I think the best thing about this book is really the development of the main character, going from not a very assured person, not very confident, doesn't have much self-esteem, to gaining a little bit more trust in herself, which is a really lovely story arc in itself. More than maybe the dramatic points that happen in the story, it's more about her character development. Also, the female friendships are really lovely and well presented, as well as the lovely relationship that Belladonna has with her mother. So I think, to be honest, more than perhaps any of the romantic stuff or the magic, even though I will say the magical names for the spells are really lovely, but I think it's the female empowerment arc that is really the best part of the story. So yeah, here's my little finished collage piece. I quite like it. It's quite simple. It's got stars, which I love. Got little cats. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with how this turned out. I hope you like it too. Okay, so moving forward, the next book I'm going to be talking about is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I have read Cackle by this author, and it was a book I really did like. So much so, I have read it again. Really enjoyed it, so I was very keen to read this book by her, and I am sorry to say, but I didn't enjoy So Thirsty, and I feel horrible to say so, but I think the main reason is that I was just let down and I was a bit disappointed. I can't help but kick off by comparing the two stories, even though, you know, Cackle's obviously a completely different book, but they just start off so similarly in that we are introduced to a young woman who has had a rubbish breakup from what sounds like just a horrible ex, basically, and they've just got to get on with their lives and move on. And yeah, I mean, it is quite a striking similarity that we're just immediately encountered with the same story. However, that's where the similarity ends, because in this story this is the thing, it's going to be hard not to give spoilers. However, it's very apparent what's going to happen, so it seems like I might give some spoilers away, and if you're worried about that because you want to read this, maybe you can skip forward. But the spoilers, honestly, they're there in the blurb. It's kind of there on the cover, which I'll insert here, because this is a story about pale people, vampires, basically. So our main character and her friend, they're the two main protagonists that we meet, really. They are embroiled with a group of vampires, and I won't tell you what happens, but what the main character presents to us is that, okay, she's got caught up in this world of vampires in this close-knit group, and she's sort of disgusted by them, actually, because they are not the wanting to be better vampires. They are just the bloodthirsty vampires that, you know, it's fine to write them like that. It's not like Buffy or anything where we have kind of good vampires. These are just blood-sucking creatures with no souls. And our main character really does not like that at all. And she says to herself that she would do anything not to become like them. However, here's a spoiler for you. So if you're worried, do skip forward. But she fails miserably in her intentions to become a better person. And that's the crux of the issue of why I just don't enjoy this story, is because you just hope for so much better for her. You think, please, please, do what you're going to do. Do what you say you're going to do. You know, she's just been in a rubbish relationship. She's been in a rubbish relationship. She doesn't feel good about herself. And she's presented with some opportunities to become a better person. And she doesn't take those chances. She doesn't become that better person. And it's so disappointing to read, because the format of the book is clouded with this disappointment in what she fails to achieve, and also the events go like this: horrible sequence of events, disgusting sequence of events, another horrible sequence of events with no break in between. And it's just a bit, it's not really like, I'm a wimp. The only murder mysteries I like have to be very cozy. I don't like thrillers. I don't like horror at all. Actually, I do like thrillers. I don't like horror. I don't like bloody scenes. So I was a bit worried about maybe that this was going to be a bit scary, but I could handle it. So if I can handle it, you can handle it. It's a bit gross in its weirdness, I suppose. Like, it's just a bit written kind of weird, which is fine. I think that's what she's going for, and I like that in an odd way, that it's eerie and a bit flat in its kind of mundane way of describing gross events. But yeah, so it's just a little bit disappointing. However, the world of vampires is always a sexy, dark place, you know, and I think that's what is an appeal about the realm of vampires. It was nice to kind of do this collage piece, which I haven't actually talked about yet, and I will say I do not like what I've created here. It's kind of a little bit crappy in my mind. It's going off the cover a little bit, that bloody goblet and at the beginning of, on the cover. But yeah, I'm under no illusion that this is a fine collage at all. So yeah, that is my my review of So Thirsty. I just wish the character had become... I just wish she'd become a boss. And here's another spoiler for you, okay? Because she's now got these kind of vampires that she's in a group with, and she's got this crappy ex, and there's no revenge. Like, I mean, if you're going to go dark and horrible, you know, you could enact some revenge scenes, but there was nothing like that. So that was yet another disappointment. So there we go. That is my review. I hope you liked this subpar piece of collage. If you liked it, actually, that's great. Thanks. I did not, however. So let's move on. Okay, so now I want to talk about two more books, The Rules of Magic and Practical Magic. I know I said I was going to talk about 3 books, but I wanted to talk about these 2 together. So Practical Magic, if you've ever seen the movie, then this is the book that inspired that movie. And I got to say, I love the movie Practical Magic. It's wonderful. The house is stunning, hence why I'm going to sketch the house in this little piece rather than doing an outright collage. I'm not a fantastic artist, but I hope you don't mind me doing this little sketch here. There will be a little bit of collage on it later on. So I'm actually going to start with the movie, actually, because that was my first introduction to the world that Alice Hoffman has created. So in the movie, we are introduced to 2 young orphaned sisters, Sally and Gillian. They've lost their parents and they have to come and stay with their aunts, Fran and Jet, who are witches, and so are the young orphans, Sally and Gillian. They're all witches, and yeah, they learn the ways of magic together. And in the movie, we find out that they are part of the Owens family and they have a curse upon them. The curse is that anybody that they fall in love with will die. So that's a huge part of the movie. And in the film also, there is a very dramatic event that happens that it's a big part of the film. So knowing that I love that film, I was really interested to read the book Practical Magic, but I thought before I dive into that book, let's just go back a little bit. Let's read the prequel and find out a little bit more about the elder aunts that we have met already in the movie, Fran and Jet, and find out a little bit more about them. So, in Rules of Magic, we meet Francis and Bridget as teenagers, as well as their brother Vincent, who is a rarity, by the way, because he's a male born into this usually female only line that carries all the magic within them. So now, I actually listened to the audiobook version of the book, and I got on a lot better I listened to both books via audiobook, liked it much better that way, struggled with reading the book, listened to it a lot better because the narrator did give the books a lot of life. So Rules of Magic, I will say, it felt like a little bit of a slog. It was a 10-hour plus listen, and there is no major... there's no major dramatic events that happen. It's really a character-driven story, and it felt kind of mundane in a way, and eventually I sort of fell into this rhythm of just being with these young characters as they grow all the way from their teenagehood into their crone era. It's a long process, nothing major happens to them. I guess simply the main question arcing over the whole story, if that's the word, is, are they going to accept that they are witches and beat this curse? Because the curse is very present in Rules of Magic. The reason why they're not sure whether they are witches or not is that that information has been withheld from them, from their mother, who's also a witch, but they don't really know that. It's just because she is aware of this curse and she doesn't want her children to be brought up with that information. So we, in Rules of Magic, spend a lot of time with Fran and Jet. And after finishing the story, which I will say I did like, it just felt quite dry, I guess. The magic, however, there is magic in it, and it's well presented. There's lots of herb lore, and it feels very real, actually. Like, the magic doesn't feel crazy or out there. It feels, real. So I was interested then to see how they were going to evolve into the characters we meet in Practical Magic. Now, moving on to Practical Magic, I will say this, that the book and the movie are worlds apart, and it's crazy how different they are, because in the books, not only, we do meet Fran and Jet, but they are no longer central characters. We meet Sally and Gillian. They are young, and then, they grow up pretty quickly. But actually, the two main characters that we spend time with are Sally's daughters. Off the top of my head right now, I have to say I've forgotten their names. It's because the book Practical Magic, it was really dry. There was actually no magic in it, because Sally, one of the mothers, the mother that we spent time with, she doesn't want her children either to be brought up with magic. And so she succeeds in that aim. And there's hardly any drama or magic pushing the story forward. The big event that happens in the movie version isn't really that big in the book at all. So honestly, if you have watched the movie Practical Magic and you're wondering to yourself whether you should read the book, you're not missing out. I'm sorry to say, it's just I think the movie is a lot different. I think they took a lot of creative license with that film. The things that happen in the movie do happen in the book. It's just it's presented in such a dry way, I guess. And honestly, there's really not that much magic in the book. You're just with these characters, and if you like just a story that's, we centre on some characters, that's fine. However, if you love the movie Practical Magic, just stick with it because it's got Sandra Bullock in it to start with, and who doesn't like her? And all the 90s vibes that you could ever wish for. So I hope you enjoyed this review video and the little pieces of collage I made. They're not fantastic, but I hope you liked them anyway. So look after yourself. I shall see you again. Bye.